You know, my wife and I have 6 children, like they were saying, and most of you, a lot of us are parents in here, and my oldest daughter was really hard. We sent her off to college this year, so I tried to talk her into going to OU or OSU. I went to Oklahoma State, and she was like, "No, Dad, I'm not going to go in state. You're the governor. I don't want anybody to know I'm the governor's daughter." I'm like, "Really?" And so our 16-year-old son, well, I'm asking him where he's going to go, and he says, "Natalie, you're crazy. I'm not going anywhere but in-state. Dad's the governor. I'm about to get all A's." And she, my daughter, I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I can hold a press conference and get all the news media there in about an hour's time, and pretty much anybody will return my phone call. I can't get my 18-year-old daughter to return a text. So if y'all have any advice, let me know. So like, "Natalie, do you see this?" It's like, "No, I never got it." So anyway, well, it's such an honor to be your governor. I'm just having a blast working for you, the legislature. We just finished our first session, so I'm no longer a freshman. I'm a sophomore now. And I've gotten a chance to meet President Trump several times, and love my meetings with him. I'll tell you a quick story. So we were in the cabinet room with all the new governors, and the governor of South Dakota, her name is Kristi Noem, and we're kind of going around introducing ourselves to the president, and she said, "Mr. President," she said, she's in South Dakota, she said, "we really would love to be able to pop off fireworks at Mount Rushmore." And President Trump said, "Well, how much is that going to cost the federal government?" She said, "Nothing, sir." She said, "We'll pay for it. We just need a permit, and they won't give us a permit for the last few years." And President Trump said, "That's ridiculous. I love fireworks." And he turns to his secretary and says, "Get with the governor and get him a permit." And it just goes around and around. And I want you to know he has a get-it-done attitude, and I hope that's what you're seeing as a political outsider. I'm coming into the Capitol. The momentum is unbelievable. We are really pushing towards becoming a top 10 state, and I can't do it without your wonderful representatives here, because we've really changed the momentum in the state. I hope you can feel it. So I just wanted to give you a couple of updates about what happened this past session, what I'm really, really proud of, and then we can just open it up to some questions and answers and what you want to hear more about. So I love being here in Enid, and I've been here probably 7 or 8 times during the campaign and a couple times since then. But I want you to know that I really think that Enid is a special, special community. The friendships, the family atmosphere. I just love your community. I think it's the anchor here in Northwest Oklahoma, and I couldn't be more proud of what you have going and the great leaders that I see throughout this room. So, you know, on the campaign trail, we saw some things that were broken in state government. From a business perspective, there were things that, as the new CEO of the state, when I got there, I couldn't enact. I could not get us all moving in the same direction with the different agencies because they didn't report to me. And imagine if we're all on the search committee at the University of Oklahoma, and we're trying to find the new head football coach. And we find the new head football coach that we want to hire, and we say, "Go win a national championship, and we want you to go 13-0. But there's one caveat. You can't hire your own offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or special teams coach." It'd be more difficult, right? Caveat number 2. Not only can you not hire your own offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coach, they don't report to you either. They report to separate boards or commissions. There's no way to have a winning game plan and a winning strategy and get everybody moving in the same direction with that type of playbook. And that's what I found when I first got to the Capitol. There's only 12 agencies that spend 90% of your tax dollars. So I said, guys, let's just simplify this. Let's focus on getting control of these 12 agencies and really being able to deliver results and accountability for Oklahomans. And so early in March, with the help of the legislature, they gave me the authority to have the hire and fire authority for those top 5 agencies. And it's made a tremendous difference, not only with those agencies, but now all the rest of the agencies are a little bit concerned about it too. So they're definitely wanting to play ball better. And so I just want to give you a couple of folks that we have brought in to run state government. Our DHS director, his name is Justin Brown. DHS is the largest state agency as far as number of employees. there's 6,500 employees at DHS. That's a big organization, spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of your tax dollars. And so just in the few months that he's been in office, he's already found 400 positions that he doesn't need anymore, and he took that savings and was able to give pay raises and bring some of his other great employees up to market just by thinking of things differently. So Justin Brown is doing a fantastic job. He also realizes state government cannot do it alone. So he is encouraging the nonprofits, the churches to get involved, to deliver better services. We can talk about more of that later, but we've got a great initiative to deliver services and invite mentorship in all 77 counties to really move the needle with our most vulnerable here in the state. Stephen Bickley is another fantastic individual that has decided to come work with me in state government. He runs our Pardon and Parole Board. And before I got there, the Pardon and Parole and the Department of Corrections, would y'all agree, are pretty connected? It's kind of important that they're kind of on the same page, right? Sharing information, sharing investigation. Let's make sure we give certain people second chances and keep the bad folks in behind bars. Those two agencies never talked. They didn't like each other. They were siloed. The agency directors never really communicated. So by getting everybody moving together on one team, we can force that collaboration, and it's just making all the difference in the world. By the end of this year, we will be down 2,000 people as far as a total overall count in our prisons. Okay, 2,000 people. It's a huge deal. That's about a $50 million savings. And all we're doing is actually, they're up 185% on reviewing the pardons and getting them to my desk quicker. That's all they're doing, is we're just talking and we're just communicating, we're sharing data. So by getting them on the same page, I can't say enough about bringing some business people in from outside state government, and that's been my playbook so far. Culture is also super important. When I was building my company, I would often say that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. That you have to spend 90% of your time on culture, 10% of your time on strategy, okay? Getting the right people on the bus with you, getting them all moving in the right direction. So, as the newly elected governor, I wanted to go meet my employees and wanted to go tour the different state agencies. And about a month in, I told my team, I said, hey, schedule me at the Department of Education. I haven't visited them yet. So would y'all agree education is a pretty big deal in the state, right? We basically all want the same things. We want the best education for our kids. We want the best access to health care. We want the best economy. We want the best roads and bridges. It doesn't matter if we're Republican or Democrats. It doesn't matter if we live in rural Oklahoma or urban Oklahoma. Let's make it simple. It's these four things. And so when I went by and visited the Department of Education, they went back in their record books. And they told me when I got there, they said, Governor, it's the first time a governor's come to visit us since 1991. And before that, it was 1974 was the last time when they dedicated the building. And nobody walked the halls and was meeting all the employees. I was thanking them for all their hard work. And one lady was so quick-witted, because I usually introduce myself, hey, I'm your new coworker. I started like a month ago. And this one lady said, well, if you're my new coworker, you take this cubicle, I'm going to take the one by the window. So it's fantastic. ODOT, Department of Transportation, a huge deal. So I went by and visited the Transportation Department, because what I found was some of these state agencies started getting off mission, and they would get these pet projects and they'd start running in this direction or running in this direction and not using their funds and the taxpayer dollars on the mission that you want them to do. So a great example of that, when I went by the Department of Transportation, they have about 700 employees there in Oklahoma City, and they toured down to the basement. They're breaking apart concrete and showing me all the asphalt. Rob Cummins would know all about that. Great tour, but they said, we've got a great project we want to show you. And I said, okay, what's that? So they take me outside, and there was two brand new dually kind of chassis trucks out there. And they had a big box on the back. It kind of looked like an ambulance. They had a light package, and it was painted GODOT on the side. GODOT. And so I was like, okay, well, what's this for? And they said, well, this is awesome, Governor. This is, we drive around the metro, and they opened up all the doors, and we can fuel up people's car when they run out of gas. We can change tires. We can tow them off at the side of the road. So I went back to the office and I called the director of that agency. I said, you need to kill that program. And he was like, what? And I said, yeah, you need to kill that program. So he called me back and said, okay, we stopped the program. He said, I'm glad you told me, because we were fixing to buy 4 trucks for Tulsa. And my point is that if Tulsa and Oklahoma City has it, then every single other town in Oklahoma needs it. And pretty soon we start appropriating $20–30 million a year for these kind of pet projects. And I told him his goal is to be top 10 in road conditions, pavement condition, bridge conditions. We've got to get the dollars to our rural communities to make sure our county roads are up to snuff. And so that's what I mean by mission creep. So we're actually forcing these agencies for the first time to find their mission and really set a vision and a goal to become top 10. You can measure this stuff. We're currently 13th in bridge conditions right now, and we're 28th in pavement conditions. So we're moving the needle with the game plan to become top 10. Auditing is something that I've really been focused on. We asked for a Medicaid audit. We wanted to know who was on the rolls. Is there any kind of fraud going on? Other states have gone through this and have seen tremendous waste there. So we're moving the needle in the auditing side. When I think about the economy and growing the economy, one of your very own here, Brent Kissling, is our Director of Commerce and is doing a fantastic job. Sean Copeland is our Secretary of Commerce. He's a banker out of Tulsa that's doing a great job. But since January, since we got started in office, they have made 38 different business announcements, 3,100 projected new direct jobs. They've made 2,800 sales calls to different companies and site selectors as we're trying to grow Oklahoma's economy. We've also identified the 5 states where we have a competitive advantage. In business, if I can find the need and find the advantage over another state or another business, I'm going to win more than I lose. And so we've gone to states very deliberately that we have a tax advantage or we have a regulatory advantage that benefits the natural clusters we already have in our state, and they're actively going after that. So you're going to see some huge wins here in the next few years. Just a couple that I love to brag about. I brag about Koch Industries here investing $1.3 billion all the time. And the reason that they did that, I talked to their executives, was because of our utility prices. We have some great utility prices. Actually, the #1 utility cost in the country. So that's a huge deal for manufacturing. Google. Did y'all know Google has invested $3 billion in Oklahoma? And they're out in Pryor, Oklahoma. I was just with their CEO a couple months ago, and he loves it. It's their #2 data center in the country. And that's it. And that's also utility price driven. They love that facility. We're also looking at Stillwater for another big center that we think we'll be announcing here in the next few months. Kratos, defense, aviation, aerospace is a huge deal in Oklahoma. Tinker is kind of the anchor for that. It's the largest MRO facility, which means maintenance and repair of all the Army and the Air Force right there in Oklahoma City. So Kratos is going to be an unmanned aircraft from start to finish. They're building the engines and everything right there in Oklahoma City. So that's wonderful for Oklahoma City. It's wonderful for Oklahoma as we continue to develop that aerospace cluster. Boeing, I met with the CEO of Boeing. He said the best decision he's made as CEO was moving their engineering group to Oklahoma City. They started with 50, now they're up to 3,500. And it's because of our workforce. I'm telling you, I was in Lawton and visited the Goodyear plant. The executives were reminding me that it's the most productive Goodyear plant in their entire world fleet. I don't know exactly how many plants they have, but that's because of our workforce. Oklahoma has a tremendous workforce. So we just, as commerce, we constantly have to get out and sell all those great things that we've got going for us. Paycom, sixth fastest growing company in the country. Chad Richardson started it as a technology company there in Oklahoma City. And so I'm also excited. Oklahoma's GDP growth, the first half of 2019, ranked as 6th in the country in growth. So I'm telling you, a lot of good things are happening from the commerce side. And this past session, we want to be able to compete and win against other states for commerce. And so in the history of our Governor's Quick Action Closing Fund, the total we ever had in that account in total was 11 million. This past session, we got 19 million put into that Quick Action Closing Fund, because I expect to compete and win all those companies that we need to bring into Northwest Oklahoma or wherever we're attracting the talent. Another big first for our state. First time ever, our wonderful school teachers got a pay raise for the 2nd year in a row. And I was really proud of that, because now our teachers are paid top in kind of this region. And we know in business you have to pay market, right? That's just kind of a basic. And so now our teachers are paid top in a 6-state footprint, and that's going to encourage more of them to join that profession, because really the magic happens when we get the best teachers teaching our young people in the classrooms. And so I'm so excited about continuing to move the needle in common education. Savings. I think it's my job as governor to be good fiscally responsible with your tax dollars. And so for the first time ever in state history, we set aside $200 million in savings without being forced to do so. Okay, so when we got there, we had $600 million more to spend, and I said, listen, we're not going to spend everything because revenue doesn't always just go up in a straight line. We don't know if we're going to have $600 million next year or the year after, and I never want to have to cut core services. So I had a bunch of PhD guys do a study for me all the way back into the early 80s. And I said, how much do we need in our savings account so we never cut core services, even in some of these economic downturns that we've had? And they said it was $2 billion. And so I set a goal to get $2 billion in our savings account. And I'm excited to tell you that for the first time ever, we have over $1 billion right now in Oklahoma's savings account. So we should be in good standing next year. And because of that, the rich get richer. It just keeps getting better and better whenever you're fiscally disciplined. So I went to New York and had to go meet with the bond rating agencies. That's S&P and Fitch and Moody's. They're the folks that tell investors what we get to charge for interest rates when we issue debt, right? Well, we had got our debt rating downgraded over the last few years. So it was my first opportunity as governor to go before them and tell them all the great things that are happening in Oklahoma. And by the way, if we get our rating back to where it was before it got downgraded, it saved us about $25 million a year in interest. That's what I mean by the rich getting richer, by being fiscally responsible. And so after our meeting, we didn't know how long it was going to take them, but within a month they called us back and they moved us, maybe it's shorter than that, 3 weeks. They moved us from a stable to a positive rating, which is the first step before they'll return our rating back to AA plus or whatever it was before. So really excited about that. Transparency is something that's really important for me in our state government. So we put our checkbook online so we can make sure that we are holding our agencies accountable with your tax dollars. So that was important. And then, in closing, before I open it up to questions, I just want to encourage you and thank you for being involved. Just the fact that you sit in this room and your community leaders involved in Rotary, it's so important to move our state forward. So in being engaged and involved with what's happening in your community definitely shows other industries want to move here. And I just think it's so important. So thank you all for being involved with that. And the last thing I'll tell you is I'm proud to be an American, but I thank God that I was raised in Oklahoma, right? We have a fantastic state, and if anybody's in here from Texas, I just want to remind you that Oklahoma is a step above Texas. Okay? Justin Brown's doing a great job. We found that DHS, their employees were paid not market with the private sector, but just market with state government. So he found savings in his own agencies without asking the taxpayers for any more money, and was able to get that pay raise across to those employees of DHS. And that's my message to the agency heads Because the normal playbook for an agency head is to always ask for, like last year, when I first got there in January, they were asking for $3 billion more in spending, okay? Because the playbook is, let's ask for this much, and hopefully we get this much, right? They sandbag. When the agencies that we've got now in control that are running, you're seeing them come in and say, you know what, we're gonna have a flat budget and I'm gonna give my employees a raise. It's just amazing the difference when we all get on the same team. And so that's just, it's really a thanks to the legislature for allowing me to run these state agencies, because when you elected your governor, all 4 million folks, and you want me to go make a change, and then my hands are tied. And so it was just frustrating. I'm glad we got that across the finish line. Yes, sir.
Governor, I'm assuming you hear a lot of negativity and vitriol from different angles and platforms. What do you personally do to not let that stuff affect your thinking and emotions?
So the question was just a lot of negativity coming at you, and how do we not let it affect our emotions? Well, first off, I don't read the comments on Facebook, okay? So I have somebody else that posts that stuff for me. I don't even have a Facebook or Twitter account. I let them post all that because I just don't want the negativity on me, right? And then the other thing is, I just have we're talking about faith. I have a very eternal perspective, and so I realize that I'm here in this position for a short time, and then I'm going back to the private sector, but I also feel like that the Lord has me in this position for a reason. And so I don't get too worked up about things, and you tell your children all the time, I tell them, things are never as good as they seem, they're never as bad as they appear, they're somewhere in between, right? So don't get too emotional. We don't go fire offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator just because you have one bad game, right? And you don't get too high when you have a really good game. So it's somewhere in between. And then you just try to be the best person that you can be. I tell our children and people that all the time, that don't wish you were in this company, don't wish you lived in this state, don't wish you live in this town, don't wish you were married to this person, don't wish you had these children. You take personal responsibility for where you're at. You can make Enid, Oklahoma the best city that it could possibly be. And when you do that and you have that type of attitude, let's make our team, let's make our state the Super Bowl champions. Let's make our company the Super Bowl champions, right? Let's be satisfied with how God made us. He's the potter, we're the clay. And then I think having that type of attitude, you just start moving forward. The future doesn't just happen. We make our own future. And I brag on. Everybody knows Larry Nichols, probably in Oklahoma, the founder of Devon. And if you go to Oklahoma City and you see the Devon Tower, and it's beautiful and it's done and it's complete, sometimes we can forget, oh, that's just always been there. No. That was one man's vision that said, you know what, I want to change the face of my city. And he went out and put it together and made it happen. You can do the same thing in Enid, Oklahoma. And so I think I'm trying to do that, with the talents that God gave me. I'm trying to do that here in Oklahoma. And, we'll let the chips fall and keep that type of perspective. So the greatest surprise, first off, it's how much fun I'm having. I did not think it was going to be so much fun. I thought it'd be a lot of hard work, and it is. But it's just such an honor, to be governor. You get to do a lot of cool stuff. I think about my granddad. My granddad had an 8th grade education, was a dairy farmer in Skiatook, Oklahoma, and then now his grandson is governor. So you just kind of have that type of perspective. That's fun. The other thing that's the biggest surprise when I first got there, you learn in school. And again, I was a total outsider. I'd never ran for office before, so I didn't really know how the Capitol worked. You have the executive branch, which is the governor, and then you've got the judicial and the legislative branch. Well, the legislative branch I thought was kind of together, but I had no idea that the House and the Senate didn't like each other, all right? I didn't know that they were like fighting all the time. So that's kind of a big, but we've done a great job of bringing them together, haven't we, Senator?
Yes, sir.
All right.
2 children, right?
Yeah, not quite, okay. So at 1:30 today in Shawnee, Oklahoma, the Attorney General is going to be meeting with about 150 of the tribes, and they're holding a kind of the first meeting. But as an Oklahoman, I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation, and like a lot of us have Indian heritage. So proud of that in Oklahoma. So we're very proud of our tribes and what they're doing to contribute to roads, healthcare, education. to me, the whole question is, what does the Hard Rock Casino, the Ren River, Riverwind, fill in the name, what are those casinos, what are they supposed to pay the state for the right to operate gaming? That's the question. And it is a question that can be answered by looking at other states and what they charge for the exclusive right to operate gaming. So that's the whole thing I'm asking. And as governor, I represent what's best for all 4 million Oklahomans, not what's best for just this industry or this industry or this industry. And that's all I'm doing. I'm saying, listen, I'm going to negotiate a fair contract that allows you certainty in your industry, but also pays market rate. And that's all I'm saying. And so I'm going to continue to fight for that. I'll advocate for that. And I hope to get a good resolution by the end of the year. And so I think we're getting close. There's been a lot of posturing, but I think we're finally sitting down and we're going to talk. This really should have been started several years ago. My friend Governor in Arizona, Doug Ducey, he's already started negotiating with his tribes, and their compact comes due in 2022. And so ours is coming due here January 1st of 2020, but California has compacts, New Mexico has compacts, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan. Should our casino industry pay any different than they do in any other state? I don't think so. And so that's what I want to negotiate for Oklahoma. So she said we could go have a beer together, basically. And here's the deal. I just think that's who I am. I don't know how you would do this job if you hadn't been a CEO and used to working with people and hiring people and setting the strategy and the vision and holding people accountable. And that's the way I ran my company. I just want to roll up my sleeves and get into the weeds with you. But it's true. I don't think most governors did it. Most governors make them come to you. Oh, you're going to come to my office. You know what? I go sit down and hang out with the janitor, and I hang out with the freshman house member. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think of myself higher than I should. I pray all the time that God will make me the most humble man in the world, like Moses was. Did you know that? Moses was the most humble man in the world, is what the Bible says. So that's a prayer that I've had for a long time. And, I don't think I'll ever change. It's just who I am. I love hanging out with people. I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room. I've got to surround myself with smart people. I can't do anything on my own. It takes the best team around me. So that's my playbook, is hiring the very best people and putting in these positions to move the needle. And other than that, it's just a lot of common sense. I'll tell you this one quick story. This is pretty funny. I think you'll like this. So it's my second week on the job. And my attorney comes to me, my general counsel, Mark Burgett, McAfee and Taft partner, fantastic guy. He said, okay, he said, Governor, he said, we've got to sign some extraditions. I've got a DA in the room. He may not like this. I think you'll like it. He may have heard this. So you got to sign some extraditions. And I said, okay, what are those? He said, well, we've got to get this person back from another state. And so I started looking at it. I said, okay, what'd they do? And they said, well, it was a misdemeanor drug charge. And I said, a misdemeanor drug charge? And I said, yeah. I said, well, where are they at? And he said, well, Wisconsin. I'm like, well, how much is it going to cost us to bring them back from Wisconsin? And it was going to cost us about $20,000. Fly a sheriff up there and do all that and bring them back. And I'm like, for a misdemeanor drug charge, this doesn't make sense. And I said, no, I'm not going to sign it. And then they just flipped out. The governor had never not signed an extradition before. They didn't know what to do. And I said, well, we need to find out what's behind that, right? So the point is, I'm trying to look at every single thing and ask questions, because sometimes we just get in the process of doing things for doing them. And so I'm really trying to look and bring an outsider's perspective and look at every single different situation. And so, it just goes on and on. From I'm just kind of in the weeds kind of person. I've already changed the contract on the person that manicures the governor's lawn. All right, so that's how I'm in the weeds I am, because I just hate wasting money. And if I think a contract is bad, I'm going to get rid of it and figure out ways to do it better. Well, thank you so much for being here, being engaged. It's such an honor to be with you in Enid. And y'all come see me in the Capitol and come have a cup of coffee with me. All right, thank you.